Welcome back to the Bitcoin Zodiac and welcome to eclipse season. We have got a lot of interesting astrology to go over this evening, and I'm really looking forward to diving right in. I'm fresh back from the Bitcoin conference in Thailand, and it was a really great event. The Right Shift did an incredible job of putting on this event. And my key takeaway from it, I guess, is that Bitcoin is alive and well in Southeast Asia. So I met some amazing people. Some of them I'm hoping to be able to get onto the podcast, so that I can introduce you to them as well. Some of them creating really interesting things. And one of the things I kind of loved about this weekend was just being able to be around people that are way smarter than I am. It's always good for the soul, I think. And yeah, so I had a really good time at the Bitcoin conference and met some amazing people. And yeah, I hope to be able to share their insights with you as well in the coming months. But what are we looking at for the next 2 weeks for this, partial moon cycle from this full moon and lunar eclipse? So on the 17th of September, we have a super harvest full moon and lunar eclipse at 25 degrees Pisces. So we have this partial lunar eclipse in Pisces, and it's the first on the Virgo Pisces axis. So it's connected to a 2-year cycle of eclipses on this axis, leading into next year as well. So this eclipse is kind of acting as a bridge between last year's eclipses and the up and coming eclipses in spring next year. And so eclipses occur when the sun and moon are within 17 degrees of a lunar node. And the current north node is in Aries and the south node is in Libra. So the lunar eclipses are intense. They're supercharged full moons, particularly when they're happening in Pisces and particularly when they're happening at a super full moon. So they're very much linked to feminine energy, really enhancing intuition and receiving universal messages. So they act as a closure or resolution phase, and oftentimes revealing information, all of which is designed to push us and move us forward. So that's really the trajectory and the purpose of an eclipse. So eclipses do bring significant changes, though not necessarily all at once. Like, it's not all happening on the day of the eclipse. So the energy of this eclipse will continue into future eclipse seasons. It encourages a letting go of stagnant energies, breaking old patterns, and moving forward. So the potential for surprise revelations, both positive and challenging, can arise during this period. And the opportunity for emotional release, closure, and embracing necessary changes. This is a gift to yourself, or I would gift to yourself the time to process any revelations coming up during this eclipse, any emotions coming up during this eclipse. Like, that's a really key element. So gifting yourself the time and space and, mental bandwidth as well to be able to deal with whatever is coming up and be able to process these energies in a really productive way. So Pisces also encourages spiritual exploration, mysticism, and interconnectedness. So it's a time to really engage in practices like meditation, sound healing, and energetic practices. Pisces is ruled by Neptune and opens the mind to new realms and higher levels of consciousness. So this is really a time, as I said, gift yourself the time and space to be able to lean into these energies, to let the eclipse do its work within you. And even though some of those things may be uncomfortable, some revelations may be really surprising and sort of destabilizing, or some things may be really positive and exciting, allow yourself the time to lean into them. So I kind of have a bit of a ritual around any full moon, to be honest, where I just clear that space. I try and spend as much time on my own and be very introspective during that time. Um, this is not really the time to be socializing and drinking and partying and being around a lot of people. Now, sometimes that's unavoidable. You maybe need to go to work or, be around your family or whatever you need to do. But if it's possible, this is a really great time to kind of like cocoon yourself alone and be able to process the things that are coming up for you without having external stimuli. So, this is a collective experience. Like everyone on the planet is experiencing these eclipses and experiencing this energy, this transformative energy. But it's not just people who are into astrology. Everyone is experiencing them. But for people who aren't really aware of what is going on, in the cosmos and what this energy brings, a lot of times you witness this, that they don't really know what to do with that energy or what to do with those emotions. And so our human nature is just to project that outwards and project that onto other people. So I would recommend being really responsible for your own energy during this time and not doing that, but also really having quite strong energetic boundaries for yourself so you're not putting yourself in a position for other people to do that to you. You want this time to be very clear, to be receiving, intuitive downloads and messages and, just really leaning into your intuition and diving into your own subconscious, during this time. So you want that field to be very clear and you don't want it to be like contaminated with other people's energy. So I'd recommend that. The moon will also, because it's a supermoon, the moon will appear larger in scale due to its proximity to Earth. So that also then intensifies the emotional and energetic impact. So we have a lunar eclipse, we have a full moon, we have a super full moon, and it's in Pisces. So emotions are going to be quite heightened during this time. And you might notice heightened sensitivity for yourself to external and internal stimuli. So you may also feel quite vulnerable at this time and vulnerable to overstimulation. So this is also a time to sort of check those habits that you have, like around consumption. Maybe consuming caffeine is not great at this time. Social media is not great at this time. Anything that causes like overstimulation, you really want to protect your energy in that way. So limit interactions, turn off devices, and just create this personal space for grounding. As I said, you want to engage in practices like yoga, meditation, sound baths, energy healing, whatever is your thing to kind of center yourself during this time. So lunar eclipses offer the opportunity to observe and change subconscious reactions. So you really want to create a space between the stimuli and the response. So to create mindful reactions. So this is a very powerful time for those of you that engage in practices that are really sort of rewiring those neural pathways, creating new neural pathways. The energy of the universe is supporting you in doing that at this time. So recognizing past patterns that are tied to your past, thought processes, limiting beliefs, intrusive thoughts, anything in that sort of mode that are really especially tied to past pain, and shift them to align to present and future realities. So this is a time that you do want to lean into that. If you want to engage in maybe plant medicine, I would say light plant medicine, maybe microdosing psilocybin, or I really like blue lotus tincture as well at this time. Anything that's sort of heart opening and, expansive in a way. This is also going to support you. And the reason that we engage in these practices is not that just because they feel good And it's not escapism. You're never taking enough of these sort of substances to actually escape your reality. But what it does is it sort of drops your sort of subconscious block to exploring some of these aspects that your brain has decided is painful and maybe too dangerous or uncomfortable for you to explore. But if you don't explore them, they remain trapped in your body, in your energy field, and they are really kind of blocking you from manifestations, from moving forward, to having conscious relationships, to be able to really just be your true, authentic self. These old patterns of behavior, thought processes, and actions are limiting your freedom, I guess, on this earth. And so that's why we do all of these crazy things. That's why we do all of these, like, digging deep into our emotions, digging deep into shadow work. We do that so that we can live more free. And I don't know who wouldn't want to do that. It's uncomfortable at times to dive into these areas of ourselves and integrate these shadow aspects within ourselves, but freedom and liberation lies on the other side of that, and authenticity lies on the other side of that. So it's always well worth doing. And as I said, this eclipse energy, this Pisces energy, this full moon energy, it really supports you in doing that. So Pisces and Virgo also both heighten your intuition and serve others, but in quite different ways. So you want to balance Pisces' sort of fluidity and boundlessness with Virgo's discernment and structure. So be aware of Pisces' like lack of boundaries and Virgo's tendency to control. You want to be, moving away from those sort of lower vibrational aspects and lower expressions of these signs. So you want to acknowledge the ways that you do lean into those naturally, and like have a process of like rewiring, as I said, those neural pathways so that you respond in a different way and don't depend on those so much. So the eclipse allows for releasing internal barriers and blocks to manifestation, as I said. So you want to really trust the flow of life and be a willing co-creator with the universe or God or source energy, whatever you want to say, and be in a position of letting go of control. And one of the things that you really want to be doing, like a lot of people approach eclipse season, gets a lot of hype. It's nearly getting as much hype as Mercury retrograde these days. But really, the eclipse season is not to be feared. Like, it's actually a really powerful time for transformation if you allow it. And so instead of coming from a place of like, oh my God, what does eclipse season have in store for me? What's going to be revealed? How am I going to be challenged? Am I going to be super emotional? Instead, come from a place of gratitude, of surrendering and just being super grateful and being like, thank you for these revelations. Thank you for these downloads. Thank you for these insights. Thank you for this transformation, even if it is uncomfortable. We know what's on the other side. That's, again, the beauty of astrology, is that we know, even if we are in a period of immense discomfort, this too shall pass. Everything is cyclical, and this too shall pass. And the eclipse is a really powerful part of that cleansing process and that restoration, that transformation. So really want to lean into those energies at this time. So this Pisces lunar eclipse is really an invitation to release, heal, and to grow. So open your consciousness to the infinite potential within you and really trust that source energy is guiding you. So you want to balance that intuition with grounded action and embrace the magic of this transformation. So what does this mean for Bitcoin? I think this is a really interesting time for Bitcoin, the markets in general, actually, not just Bitcoin, but we are heading into an FOMC meeting the day after the eclipse on the 18th of September, which I touched on last episode. And we just had CPI data released last week, which came in lower than expected, which is really creating the space and setting the stage for the Fed to reduce rates at this meeting. So if you've been watching the Bitcoin Zodiac for a while, you will kind of know that I think that, I don't pay too much attention to the actual numbers, the actual data that's released, because I think it's mainly fabricated and manipulated. And, in this case, it is setting the stage for the Fed to pivot and start reducing rates. So, however, it is eclipse season, and the only thing I can say to you during this season is really expect the unexpected. So we're all expecting, the markets are expecting Jerome Powell to reduce rates, but he may not. It's eclipse season; anything could happen. But I am leaning on the side of him beginning to reduce rates, especially as their CPI data is sort of setting the stage for that, as I said. So in financial astrology, the super full moon and lunar eclipse are really potent cosmic events that can bring like sudden shifts in the markets and emotional reactions, and also changes in trends. So the moon represents emotions, instincts, and the public mood, while Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune, governs illusions, dreams, and the dissolution of boundaries. So when combined in a super full moon and lunar eclipse, the energy is insanely supercharged, basically. And so its proximity to the earth just amplifies its effects, both on individuals and the collective. So the eclipse at 25 degrees Pisces really marks a powerful moment where illusions and hidden dynamics within the financial markets may be revealed. And this is really a through line, a key narrative through this entire 2-week period, leading into the solar eclipse on the 2nd. So other aspects are also indicating this as well, which I'll get to. So Pisces is a mutable water sign, and its influence often correlates with emotional and psychological shifts rather than concrete grounded actions. So the fact that this is a lunar eclipse suggests the culmination of events that began during a previous eclipse cycle and is now coming to a point of revelation, release or closure. During the super full moon, especially one in Pisces, markets do tend to become highly emotional and reactive. So Pisces rules the collective unconscious, and as a water sign, it is prone to fluctuations in sentiment. So this can lead to sudden market volatility, with investors reacting based on fear, uncertainty, or like greed and over exuberance and FOMO, basically. So expect heightened sensitivity and an increase in speculative behavior and emotions driving decisions rather than logic. Pisces governs the removal of illusions and deceptions, which could mean that during this period, hidden weaknesses or unsustainable financial trends in the market may be exposed. So investors may begin to see through overly optimistic projections or false narratives that are driving asset bubbles, leading to corrections in both crypto and Bitcoin and in the traditional market. So it's a time where financial reality asserts itself, and certain overhyped sectors could really face some significant readjustments. So Pisces is ruled by Neptune, which is associated with oil, gas, pharmaceuticals, and tech sectors, which could be driven by vision or illusion. So that kind of Bitcoin also does fall into that tech sector, and also it is also a commodity as well. So it sort of straddles both there. So Neptune relates to confusion and often creates this opaque situations in the market, which can bring instability into these markets. So especially any stocks related to these sectors, they may experience a fair bit of turbulence. as any like misinformation or over expectations, are brought to light. Bitcoin is also closely tied to collective sentiment, or Bitcoin's price, I should say, is tied to collective sentiment. So we may also see some increased volatility during this eclipse. And also the thing is with Bitcoin as well, it's such a small market cap in comparison to the broader financial markets, that any kind of move that affects all of the markets affects Bitcoin in a more magnified way. And then also, the altcoins in an even more magnified way. So just be aware of that, and expect some swings in price driven by, emotional reactions to external events or market rumors. So since Pisces rules illusions, there may be this heightened sensitivity to news or developments. And even if they are based on incomplete or exaggerated information. So as the eclipse reveals hidden truths, this could lead to a market correction, especially if Bitcoin's price is perceived to have been artificially inflated by speculative behavior. Alternatively, if there has been skepticism or doubt about Bitcoin's value, this eclipse could really clear away some of those illusions as well, leading to a possible surge in price as people gain clarity on Bitcoin's long-term potential and position in the global financial markets. So this kind of all or nothing scenario really does fit the mutable nature of Pisces as well. While lunar eclipses often bring closures, they also reveal the long-term trajectory of assets. So Bitcoin's underlying narrative of decentralization and freedom from traditional financial systems really resonates with Pisces' disillusion of boundaries. So during this period, there may be like a greater collective awareness of Bitcoin's role as sort of a hedge against the traditional financial system and centralized control, and really strengthening its long-term value proposition. This eclipse will likely cause significant swings in the markets, particularly in assets with smaller market caps like Bitcoin. So you should be aware of quick price movements, and just be cautious of making any emotionally driven decisions. We really want to lean into that Virgo analytical energy, and really make sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and you're looking over things and making sure you're not responding emotionally from an emotional space. So it's also, I feel like I've been saying this for months, but it's also a good time to review your portfolio from a perspective of aligning with your long-term values. So as this eclipse season may reveal financial truths, which I expect to be more in the traditional markets or the system of central banking, that sort of thing, you want to focus on assets that have a strong fundamental value and can withstand emotional market turbulence. And also, you want to be aligning investments to your values. So, as you know, if you've watched any of my previous episodes, you know that I don't believe that the traditional financial system, which we all operate in at this point in time, this doesn't align to my core values. And I see Bitcoin as an alternative to that, and an alternative that aligns much more to my values of fairness and stability and sustainability and sound money, basically. Real money, basically. So with Pisces influence, there is like a heightened risk of deception or confusion in the market. So really avoid getting caught up in that like speculative hype or FOMOing in, chasing trends that seem to be too good to be true. This is a time to really kind of be cautious and avoid really impulsive decisions. Prioritize sound research and analytics. So Pisces is deeply connected to spirituality, intuition, and compassion. So as I said before, consider aligning your investments with your values, focusing on sustainable, ethical, and innovative technologies that aim to improve the world. So Bitcoin's narrative really, aligns to that, in my opinion. And so this may resonate as well with other people who are seeking an alternative, an alternative ethical financial system. Lunar eclipses are also times of heightened intuition, especially in Pisces. So trust your instincts, but don't rush into decisions. So give the energy of the eclipse time to settle before making like really significant decisions. So patience will really be your ally during this period. And yeah, the markets are going to be really emotional. And so just be patient, be really calm, approach it from that perspective. The super full moon and lunar eclipse at 25 degrees Pisces really signals a time of emotional intensity, revelation, and transformation in the financial markets. So we should really prepare for heightened volatility, but also use this period to evaluate long-term strategies. So you don't want to get caught up in the hype of the short-term hype, but you also want to be grounded enough to be able to make decisions that may scare some people. So if everybody, if Bitcoin's price really dumps, this will scare the shit out of people, to be honest. And so you want to be one of those people that's grounded enough in your own convictions, your own understanding of Bitcoin and what you're here for, what you're doing with Bitcoin, why you're buying it in the first place, that you can take the opportunities to take advantage of those opportunities that may present during this period of volatility as well. So focus on sound fundamentals, maintain patience, and navigate this period of uncertainty and align your investments with your higher values and long-term financial goals. So the day after the eclipse on the 18th of September, we obviously have the FOMC meeting. We also have the North Node semi-square Bitcoin's natal Saturn. So in financial astrology, a semi-square, which is a 135-degree aspect, is a minor but also challenging aspect that indicates some tension, friction, and obstacles that require some adjustment. So when the transiting North Node, which represents a collective destiny, growth, and future direction, forms a semi-square to Bitcoin's natal Saturn, the planet of structure, authority, and long-term stability, it creates a period of tension between Bitcoin's long-term structural stability and the forces of future growth or evolution. So the North Node is really associated with karmic evolution and the path forward, while Saturn represents restriction, discipline, and responsibility. So when these two energies clash in a semi-square aspect, it often signals kind of growing pains or tension between maintaining stability and embracing necessary changes for growth. So I do feel like this North Node energy, sort of when talking about like future growth, future direction, and like karmic destiny, I do think that that is also tied in with the current financial system. And that's kind of like what we're seeing as this restriction. As I said in the last episode, I think we're witnessing this, like with Pluto retrograding back into Capricorn, back into Aquarius, back into Capricorn, into Aquarius. We're witnessing this like tug of war between two systems, I think. And even this sort of smaller minor transit, this aspect to Bitcoin's natal Saturn and this like implication of sort of growing pains and this tension. I think that this is the, trajectory we're on, this karmic destiny of moving forward. And, we're having this little sort of some growing pains but really what these growing pains also are is that they may be frustrating and annoying, but they are also necessary for building long-term stability and growth. So we don't want to just be growing at an insane rate, an unsustainable rate. We need to have these periods of contraction and this, this tension, this tug of war, this negotiation, if you like, between the karmic destiny, and also then we have Saturn coming in and saying, hey, hang on a second, where's the structure? Where's the stability? And bringing that in. So this semi-square aspect introduces a conflict between the forward-moving energy of the North Node and Saturn's constrictive nature. Well, not constrictive, just more maybe conservative nature. In financial markets, this can manifest as resistance to change or even new regulations that challenge the status quo. So we may feel uncertain, or certain people may feel uncertain about the future direction of the market due to perceived barriers to growth or progress. So Saturn strongly, I think also we're seeing this, there is a bit of this ambiguity as well around the US elections. And as I said, coming into eclipse season, I think there is a lot of people that are sort of, wanting to see what happens, wanting to see how things play out before they make major decisions. And, even when we're talking in terms of the US election, which I cannot wait to be on the other side of, by the way, you have one sort of side of things where you have RFK Jr., who's very pro Bitcoin, for all the right reasons, as well as far as, what he's presenting in the public sphere. We have Trump, who's sort of pro Bitcoin. And then we sort of have the Democrats through this administration who've been quite challenging to Bitcoin and, well, to crypto as a whole. So I think there is some sort of ambiguity around what regulations may come, depending who is, in power, for the next season. So those may be sort of seen as potential barriers to growth. But Saturn is strongly connected to rules and regulations and the structures that govern financial systems. So during this transit, there may be an increased tension around regulatory issues or governance structures in the financial markets. So, and this is like Bitcoin's natal chart, so it's specific to Bitcoin. So governments or financial institutions may introduce new regulatory measures that create temporary friction for Bitcoin's growth, leading to uncertainty or hesitation in the market. So it's more about the perception of this rather than the actual reality of this, in my opinion. The influence of Saturn also suggests more cautious and restrained approach during this period. So markets may slow down as investors adopt a sort of, like, as I said, wait and see kind of attitude, reassessing their strategies to ensure long-term stability. So growth could feel a little stunted during this time, especially for speculative or high-risk assets, or things that are deemed high-risk assets like Bitcoin. As the tension between the need for structural integrity and future potential weighs heavily on the general market sentiment. So really the transiting North Node semi-square Bitcoin's natal Saturn brings a period of tension, as I said, between Bitcoin's long-term stability and its potential for future growth. So this aspect signals potential regulatory challenges, structural obstacles, or institutional resistance, which may cause some short-term price volatility or price correction. So investors should approach this period with some caution, focusing on long-term stability and being mindful of potential regulatory changes. So it's not just even regulatory changes. Like, as I said, this aspect is on the same day as the FOMC meeting. So the way that FOMC meeting plays out may signify changes in the structure of how we're doing things. We've been in a period of increasing interest rates or high interest rates for a decent amount of time now. And it looks like that is going to shift and change. So that's kind of what I sort of see with this aspect as well, sort of coming into play. So again, approach this with caution, focus on long-term stability, long-term conviction, and just be just be aware of these possible changes. So while the semi-square introduces temporary friction, it also offers the opportunity to strengthen the foundations of Bitcoin, making it more resilient for future growth. And I think that that is sort of how this is going to play out. Like in the short term, we may see a price correction, but realistically, it's these changes are for the karmic evolution of Bitcoin. So if that makes sense. So on the 29th of September, we have Mercury conjunct the South Node at 6 degrees Libra. So in financial astrology, Mercury represents communication, information, commerce, and trade, while the South Node is connected to past patterns, karma, and lessons that need to be revisited or released. So I believe that this is referring to the sort of more tradfi element of the markets. I do believe that there is a lot of karma built up in that system and that needs to be revisited and released and shifted and changed. So when Mercury conjoins the South Node at 6 degrees Libra, it signals a time where past financial strategies, communications, or decisions come into focus. So this transit can reveal information from the past that requires resolution or closure. So especially in the context of relationships, partnerships, and agreements, as Libra governs balance and harmony. So we, by participating in the global financial system, in the system of central banking, we are in partnership, we are in relationship, we are in agreement with that system. And so this is really a time that I think information will probably be revealed that will require us to look back at the past and say, is this really what we want to be recreating into the future? So the conjunction of Libra, which is a sign ruled by Venus, planet of money and value, emphasizes themes of fairness, justice, balance, and balanced exchange. And so it may bring attention to past financial agreements, unresolved legal issues, or imbalances in partnerships, all of which can influence the financial markets and Bitcoin's price. So again, I see that karma, like I personally don't feel that the system of central banking aligns at all with fairness, justice, or balanced exchanges. And so I think that that karmic reality is coming to the surface to be released and shifted so that we're not bringing that into the future. And the interesting thing about that is that one of the interesting things I find about Bitcoin is that Bitcoin doesn't change. Bitcoin hasn't changed how it does things really, since its inception. And what really has changed is the world around it. So the more that we recognize that the system of central banking that we've all existed in and willingly participated in, sometimes unknowingly participated in, does not align with fairness, justice, or balanced exchanges. And so now we need to align to something that's new that does align to those values. So really, Mercury conjunct the South Node at 6 degrees Libra brings a period of reflection, reevaluation, and a potential resolution of past financial decisions. So in the markets, this transit may uncover old information that lead to a cautious mood and also prompt reassessments of past strategies. So for Bitcoin, this could trigger some volatility as old regulatory concerns or market narratives resurface, potentially leading to price corrections. Now, I actually don't. There is the potential for that. There is a potential for all of these. With Mercury, it's all about communication. There is a potential for, these old narratives of like 2015 or whatever to resurface about, the government will never approve this. It's only used by criminals. It has no real value. All of these kind of things, they could come up during this time and make people question or make people cautious again. But as I said, I think that this really more relates to the uncovering of the karmic cycles of our current financial system. And the reality of that only makes Bitcoin shine brighter, to be honest. On the 29th of September, we have Mars trine Saturn in retrograde. So in financial astrology, a trine is a harmonious aspect that facilitates like ease and flow between the energies of the planets involved. So when Mars, the planet of action, energy, and ambition, forms a trine with Saturn, the planet of discipline, structure, and long-term planning, which is in retrograde, it signals this period where focused efforts can lead to steady progress. So Saturn represents this revisiting or reevaluation of long-term plans and structures, while Mars infuses energy into those processes. So again, we're sensing a theme here. It's like it's all about looking at like a reevaluation, a revelation of structures, really. So this combination brings a constructive blend of determination from Mars and discipline from Saturn. So it makes it a really good time for organizing, restructuring, and executing well thought out strategies, both in financial markets and individual investment decisions. So Mars trine Saturn in retrograde provides this great opportunity for taking calculated and disciplined action. So financial markets may exhibit more steadiness and less impulsive buying and selling. And you may want to focus on long-term growth rather than short-term speculation. So really prioritizing stability over high-risk moves at this time. And with Saturn in retrograde, there's a strong focus on, again, a reevaluation and restructuring of past decisions. This is a through line through this entire period, to be honest. In the financial markets, this could mean companies or investors revisiting old strategies, old business plans, and adjusting them for the future. So this aspect encourages thorough analysis and careful consideration before taking action and just creating a more deliberate atmosphere in the market. So unlike more volatile aspects, this Mars trine Saturn favors a more steady incremental progress. So during this period, we may experience slower but more consistent growth. So this aspect supports investments in solid, dependable sectors and like long-term technologies. So investors are likely to favor assets that offer security and stability over those that, offer high short-term gains. So on the 30th of September, the Sun conjoins Mercury. And so in astrology, a Sun-Mercury conjunction is referred to as a Mercury cazimi, which occurs when Mercury is within 17 minutes of the Sun. So this aspect is known for its heightened clarity of thought, sharp communication, and focused mental energy. So Mercury represents information, communication, and trade, while the Sun represents vitality, purpose, and leadership. So these two align in cazimi. When they align in cazimi, they can illuminate new insights and clear communication and significant decisions. So in financial astrology, the Sun-Mercury cazimi signals like a period of mental clarity, critical thinking, and important announcements or revelations in the markets. The theme of revelations is coming in hot this season. It's a time when investors and traders can expect like sharper judgment. So it really does make it ideal time for planning and strategy. Which is really nice. Like it's actually really refreshing because we've had a lot of illusionary confusion, sort of influencing the markets, I think, especially the last couple of weeks. The Bitcoin price action has been very, inconsistent, I would say, or just, just more challenging to read because we have got these elements of Neptune, kind of causing this like illusionary quality, making technical analysis, astrological analysis, a lot more challenging than it usually is. So during a sun, so it's nice to have like a little bit of clarity. It's nice to have some universal energies supporting some clarity. I'm looking forward to that. So during the sun, Mercury cazimi, there is a boost in mental clarity and decisiveness. So it's a time when markets may experience important announcements, new information, or significant insights that clarify trends or potential moves. So traders and investors are more likely to act on clear information, and there's a tendency for more rational, logical decision making. So Mercury rules communication and information. And when it's in cazimi with the sun, it often marks a time of like key announcements in the financial world. So just be aware of that. So this could be the release of economic reports or earnings or regulatory news, anything that can influence the direction of the market. So this energy does also really support transparency, which is also quite, unique to news in the financial world. So, but during this time, we can expect like quite clear communication. So yeah, I think that that's something to look forward to. It'll be a nice, refreshing change. And that kind of really brings us into then the solar eclipse, which is on the 2nd of October at 10 degrees Libra. And it signals a period of rebalancing and new beginnings. So particularly for financial partnerships, regulations, and market dynamics. So for Bitcoin, this could lead to regulatory developments, a revelation, and a reevaluation of its role in the financial system, and potential price realignments, that comes with that. And I feel that that really is sort of the theme of this eclipse season is revelation and disclosure. And even if they don't come directly, maybe they come personally. And so it's more like a personal revelation of the perception of the financial markets that we currently exist in and a reevaluation of that. And therefore creating a reevaluation of Bitcoin's role in the global financial system. So I think it's a really interesting time. I don't think it's going to be an easy time to trade or or even hold through. We may see some really significant downsides. There's definitely the potential for that for sure. Or volatility to the upside and the downside, to be honest. But I think that it is all for the greater good, and all of these different things, even though they may be a rocky road to ride, in the long term, it's causing this reevaluation and a sort of verification of Bitcoin's position and need for Bitcoin in the global financial landscape. So as with all eclipse seasons, they're not always easy to ride out. They can be really, really uncomfortable, really, really emotional. But they are always for the greater good. And you just never leave eclipse season the same person that you entered. So enjoy that transformation. Allow the energy of the eclipses to do what they need to do. And, embrace the transformation. It's an exciting time, both for Bitcoin and for us personally. So on that note, I will leave you and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And until then, peace, love, and Bitcoin.